Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. Now today I've got a pretty interesting bike. I'm excited to test this one out because it's just so different from all the other bikes in this price range of off-road bikes from $1,000 to $2,000. I reviewed a bunch of bikes in this price range. This one is called the C3 Sport from Avadar. All the other bikes have a 750 watts in their rear hub drive motors. This one is a 250 watt mid-drive. It's the only bike I've ever tested that has a mid-drive motor for less than $2,000. Most bikes that have mid-drive motors are usually 3, 4, and above. Now, a couple more things that makes this stand out is the size. Other brands have a big old fat frame. This one is 52 pounds. It's very small, very lightweight, and it also has the same torque rating as those other brands. There's a few that have 85 Newton meters. This one has 80. So let's kick the review off and see what this can do, starting off with a speed test. All the other brands in this price range have a 750 watt hub motor, so it does stand apart, as I mentioned in the intro, quite a bit from the other brands. Now that motor is powered with a 36 volt, 10 amp hour lithium battery, and that also is very small for this price range. Typically they're 48 volts and between 15 and 20 amp hours, but it can be removed and charged on the go, which takes 4 hours to do so. So it's a very short charge time. The Sport is rated up to 25 miles per hour. The typical average speed is about 27 miles per hour for this price. So we're right there as far as the speed rating. The Sport has 0 to 5 pedal assist levels. I'm gonna show you how fast each level can go, starting off with level 1. Well, doing a speed test on a torque center bike is a little bit tricky. I'll do my best and kind of show you what it can do. I do have a full battery, 99%, so pretty close to full. Pedal assist level 1 first. Nice, flat, smooth off-road. Here we go. And I'm just gonna have a nice, even cadence as well. So 1 is 8, 2 is 11, 3 is 13, 4 is 16, 5 is 20. I ran out of row, so I'm just gonna put it in the highest gear, pedal as fast as I can, and see if I can beat 20. Started to get a pretty good burn, and I got it up to 22 miles per hour. So on just a regular nice cadence, it's 20. If you really put some effort, pump those pedals fast, 22, maybe 23 if I had a little bit more longer of a road. Well, that is a workout pedal that. So again, this is a bike that you're not gonna get for speed. This is made for off-road single track riding, which I'll dive into more throughout the review. But now you know what it can do on certain pedal assist levels. Well, the Sport weighs 57 pounds. It has a carrying capacity of 275 pounds. Again, it is the lightest bike by far in this price range and also has the lightest carrying capacity. Most bikes can reach 20 miles per hour in about 8 to 9 seconds. I really don't think that this is gonna do that. These torque censored motors are pretty different than a rear hub motor. Now there's no throttle with the Sport, so I'm just gonna show you how fast it goes from 0 to 22 miles per hour on pedal assist level 5. Okay, this is the acceleration test. Again, kind of hard to do this on this bike, but here we go. I've got it on pedal assist 5, 94% battery life, speed app open. Here we go. Well, the acceleration, again, is hard to measure on something like this. Pretty slow acceleration, which is good. You know, this is for single track riding, so you don't want a really fast and abrupt takeoff. Something nice and smooth that gives power when you need it. So I'm okay that this has a fairly slow start. That's totally fine with me. The Sport has a range rating of 31 to 60 miles. And for this test, I'm gonna be on some single track green and blue rated trails. Since this isn't a full suspension bike, I'm gonna find some trails that aren't really rocky, kind of that hard pack type of trail, which there are a lot out in this area. I do have a full battery. I've started my tracking app. Let's see how far I can go. As far as comfort and geometry and feel of the bike, it's put together very well. The only thing that's rattling is the kickstand, and I tried to take that off, but the two screws were just bolted on there, something fierce. I could not unloosen them. So that does shake a little bit when I hit some rockier sections of the trail. The motor does whistle. There's a high-pitched whistle to it. I've seen that on other mid-drive motors. It's nothing to where it's super annoying, but just something that I noticed. And it's actually much quieter than some of these larger 750 watt gear hub motors that I've tried. The size of the bike is a good size for my frame. I'm 5'11", and it has a size rating of 5'5" to 6'1". So I'm actually on the higher ends for the size rating, which I usually am not. But I can definitely tell that it's a smaller, lighter frame. It's much easier to navigate and to manage and to handle. Taking some of these sharp turns on bigger bikes, they kind of lean more and throw the weight a little bit more than I like. And this one, it rebounds very quick. Make a sharp turn, you can throw it back upright for a, once you get past the turn and you're back standing straight up. There's very little resistance when you turn. You can easily dodge and maneuver around obstacles. Hell, I brought my riding partner today.
Whoa.
You enjoying the ride?
I did. Yes, I am.
You did? We're not done with it yet.
Oh.
That's how much you enjoyed it.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just continually impressed with how awesome this bike is. And the best thing about it is that you don't have to spend a ton of money to buy like a full suspension off-road bike, main brand. This is under $2,000 and is handling this type of terrain very well.
Hardly keeping up with him.
Well, I can't let my nephew smoke me. That's just not right. Now the Sport has mountain bike 20mm rise handlebars. And as far as stance, width, really like how wide they are. There's locking rubber grips, and I can turn those if I put enough pressure on them. I can move them a little bit. So they're not totally completely stationary, but they're something that you would see on a mountain bike. They're skinny, hard, textured. They've added aluminum alloy brake levers, and those are some of the nicer levers I felt. And they don't cut power when they're pressed. So that is something I haven't seen actually before on a bike. It's got a 2x8 speed Shimano shifter, and that's just too many gears in my opinion. You really don't need that many, especially with a torque sensor motor that does a lot of the shifting for you, or makes it so you don't have to shift. At least that's what I've experienced riding this a couple days. The saddle's pretty standard. I've had really no complaints riding this over the last 3-4 hours, so it's not too bad. As I mentioned before, this is a torque sensor and cadence sensor mid-drive motor, and that takes 1,000 measurements per second to provide just better and more constant and trail fitting power. For a $2,000 bike, I'd say it's a pretty good motor. It's very reactive and sensitive, and has been actually very fun to tackle some of these trails. Haven't really needed to shift down when climbing because I just rely on that power delivery to increase. Just makes it for a more enjoyable ride. There's less hassle trying to figure out the perfect gear to climb. So Jackals, how did you like that last section?
It's not fun. It was so bumpy.
Yeah, so I say this almost in every bike video that I do. You'll enjoy the bike more. All depends on the type of terrain you pick. For the most part, this is pretty flat, hard pack, a little bit of sand, but there was about a quarter-mile stretch where there was a bunch of these potholes, and we both got rattled pretty good. Are your arms doing okay?
They're not gonna work tomorrow.
We both have front suspension only, hardtail on the back, so it rocks you pretty good, especially when you go in at speed, 15 miles an hour, which we were hitting some of those bumps at. Now the Sport comes with an alloy front fork suspension. You can lock that out and adjust it, and it's a pretty decent suspension. It's spring, so as good as spring suspension can get. I'm confident enough to where I've gone off a couple drops. I have bottomed out the suspension when I've done that a couple times. It does struggle with rocks and that. You know, with that hardtail, it doesn't matter how good the front fork suspension is. With the hardtail, rocky sections are always going to be a pain in the butt. The nice thing about this bike is just how light it is, and so when you do hit some rougher sections of the trail compared to these big old fat bikes, it doesn't throw you as much, even though it has the same quality suspension. Those heavier bikes, the shock of impact seems to, travel throughout that bike and just last a lot longer. The Sport also comes with 27.5 by 2.1 inch all-terrain tires. They're not the beefiest or knobbiest looking tire. They're actually pretty, pretty minimal. I felt the tire slip out more on this bike than I have in a while. And I know that they gotta go cheap on certain parts of the bike. I think they went pretty cheap on those tires. I've seen these same type of tires on very cheap and inexpensive bikes. Well, I made it back to my truck. The range test is over. I do have a lot more battery left, 44%. I'm not sure if I actually have that much left because, about a half an hour ago, it said I had 22 or 21%, and it kind of fluctuates. I will say that I do have the same amount of power now that I had when I first started. So, man, if it still has 44% battery life, then that's fantastic. My app showed just over 13 miles with about 850 feet of elevation gain. Did some good climbing out there. And with 44% battery life left, then that could be in the 30 to 35 range, which is fantastic for that size of battery. And even if that's not accurate, 13 miles is pretty good. Like, I'm done riding, I'm pretty beat. I was out there for a couple hours. I had the bike on pedal assist level 5 the entire time, and I tried to ride as hard as I possibly could. So if you put it to like pedal assist 2 or 3, I bet you could get in the 30 to 40 range, if you rode a lot easier and treated it nicer than I did. So now you know what it can do when you ride it hard for off-road riding. There's no hill rating for the Sport, but the motor does produce 80 Newton meters of torque, which is pretty awesome for the size of this bike. Again, most brands produce 85, but they're 20 to 25 pounds heavier than this. Let's see how well this can climb some hills. Okay, this is a huge uphill section. There's about 3 different layers here, so this will be an awesome spot to see how well this can climb. And some of these slopes are above 40%. I've measured them before in some past videos. So it'll be a good test for this bike. Here's the first section here. Oh, not the right one. Okay, had the power, I just lacked the skill to get up that little hill. Now that motor kicks on and just gives you the power right when you need it. Here's a good one. Oh yeah. And probably the steepest and longest one here. I'm panting, breathing hard, but onto the top. Well, the climbing power this bike has is fantastic. There was just these stepped hills, and some were over 40% grade. They're very steep hills. And I was climbing them in 3rd and 4th gear. I didn't even have it on the easiest gear. It gives you power right when you need it, on demand. The more pressure you put on the pedals, the more power it gives you. It's got fantastic climbing power. No complaints there. The Sport comes with dual hydraulic disc brakes. It's time to test those out. Braking power is fantastic as well. You don't have to put a lot of pressure on the levers to really engage the brakes. It's a good balance of pressure and braking power. Some of these bikes, you tap a little bit or you put a little bit of pressure on there and it almost throws you off the bike. You don't have that with this. Very smooth, no squeaking, no pulsating. Really like the brakes. So this is the no power test. We got it set to pedal assist level 0 and kind of a flat section here. And this is definitely one of the easier bikes to ride without power, as you would have guessed for just being how light it is. There's a hill. Just go try this. It actually might be a little bit too steep for what this can do, but we'll test it out. Starting to climb now. Oh yeah, it's getting tough. Standing up. It's, whew. Well, that was a workout, but I made it up. You can ride this without power. It's a little bit easier than these big old monster bikes that I've tried. Still gonna give you a workout. This hill was probably around 25% grade and not too long, so flat stretch, you'd be fine. Okay, let me show you the LCD screen and control pad. It's pretty small. You can kind of see that, maybe 1.5 to 2 inches wide. Power button in the middle, and it does take some pressure to push these buttons here. It's looked like they got extra protective with the waterproof casing, so those buttons are a little bit tricky to push. Plus and minus to change the pedal assist level, and that's 0 to 5. Hit the power button, that does change the different readouts. You can see trip, odometer, time, and then just back to the home screen. There is a way to access the menu, but I haven't found any information on how to do that. I'll try to find that and post it in the description so you know how to change those advanced settings. If you hit the plus button, that does turn on the lights, and it does also dim the screen. This comes with a pretty small headlight, but kind of feels and looks kind of higher end. And there's no tail light, but there is a rear reflector. So you have that. Oh, I actually didn't put the reflector on. Hold down the minus button, and that is the walk assist mode. And that does move about 2 miles per hour in case there's a hill that you can't make it up all the way. And that's pretty much it. Pretty easy to navigate screen. Well, I couldn't find a waterproof rating. I emailed the company about it, but I'm still waiting to hear back from them. So I will post that information in the description once they get back with me. But the bike does have a 1-year warranty and free shipping in the lower 48. There's also a customer service section on the website where you can call, text, or email if you have any problems. Well guys, I thought the C3 Sport held up very well for my test. It's got excellent hill climbing ability. The mid-drive sensor is very responsive, just that power on demand when you needed it. There wasn't any hill that I couldn't climb because of lack of power. There were some sections that I couldn't climb because of my skill level, but the power wasn't an issue. It's got tremendous power for the size and the weight of the bike, which I really liked. It felt like a very sturdy and solid bike, well built, and was able to handle some drops and some jumps that I took it off of. For the type of terrain that I took this on, just that hard pack, not a lot of rocks, that's where this bike is just gonna be, awesome at. That's where it does very, very well. There were some rock gardens and pothole sections that were pretty rough. This is a hardtail, and so you don't want to take it through super gnarly terrain, but a green or blue rated trail is where this bike is gonna do the best at. If you do want to pick it up, I've got the link in the description. Also, be sure to check out my website, electricrevolutionreviews.com, for all of my reviews. I made it very easy to find the perfect bike based on price and capability. So if you need help choosing one, be sure to check that out. Hit that like button before you go, and please subscribe for the latest in electric bike, board, and scooter reviews. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.